And we're live.
And
I had to do that. It was obligatory.
I like your radio announcer voice there. That was pretty good.
And we're live.
So, yeah. So how's everybody doing?
Crazy.
Well, we knew that.
Yes.
We just haven't gotten you committed yet.
Well, you know, I am wearing a Boba Fett t-shirt.
Awesome.
Yes.
Nice.
So my Boba Fett Slave One Legos.
I was just gonna ask.
Yeah. Hold on a second. Let me pull it down.
You got it put together?
Almost.
It's the part where Derek walks off and flips his MacBook in the air.
Yes, totally.
A la My Big Fat Greek Wedding.
This thing is freaking huge.
Wow.
First of all, I mean,
awesome.
you know how big my head is, and I am in general. This is like, I don't know.
Wow.
17 inches tall, 18 inches tall, or something like that.
Wow.
It's not completely done yet. I've done like 10 out of 13 build steps or something.
Okay.
But it's pretty sweet when there's the wings on the side that stay parallel to the ground as you rotate the ship itself.
Oh, nice.
They're counterbalanced so that they rotate on their own.
That's pretty cool.
It's pretty awesome. There's a Han Solo encased in carbonite. He actually is.
Does it pop open?
So I'm showing to the camera.
Oh, yeah.
You can see Han Solo, but there's actually a Han Solo minifigure at the back of it.
That's so awesome.
This thing is freaking amazing. By far the best sale of a product ever.
I was gonna say, is that the one you got for the?
Yeah. This is what I got for as a trade for my Rabbit MQ, the full Rabbit MQ course. And I've put like, I don't know, 6 or 8 hours into this thing already. And I've still got a couple of hours left, probably.
Wow.
That's
wow.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's amazing.
That's a lot. Are you tracking that as billable time?
No.
Okay. So my little rant about Legos, as cool as that is, I feel like Legos have gotten, over the years, and this was starting to happen when I was a kid, but Legos have gotten more and more to the point where they're like just single-purpose snap-together models versus like pieces that you can really reuse to do other things.
You're buying the wrong sets.
Well, I mean, I haven't bought Legos in 20 years, so I'm looking at them though and seeing them, the ones that they're advertising, and they're like, it's like a spaceship, and like you snap together these 3 things and you're done.
Yeah. So there are a number of sets like that, especially when you get into the specifically branded things like the Ninjago ones and some of the others that are very specialized. They do tend to get that way.
Okay.
But in my experience with the Slave One ship and most of the other Star Wars Legos and like the city Legos and other more normal sets, they tend to be built out of highly reusable pieces.
Okay.
The Lego Technique, however you pronounce it, ones are also just highly reusable individual pieces. But if you get into, like, my son has some Batman and Superman and Wonder Woman Legos, and some of those are very specialized pieces just for those sets. Yeah. And that is kind of annoying. I agree with you. It's like, okay, I didn't necessarily want to build just this one thing. I wanted to have a lot of pieces to work with later.
Yeah. I spent $90 on this thing.
Yeah. But I'm really happy with the quality of construction in the Lego Star Wars that I'm doing. It's incredibly well engineered in terms of stability and structure and whatnot, but it's also it's primarily reusable pieces. Some of the round, curvy things are specialized in terms of the color, but they're still reusable. If you need some round piece, there's actually a lot of Star Wars Legos that have these round pieces on them. They're just different colors.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Well, I feel better then.
Yeah. So along with that, I completed my 9+ day email course on RabbitMQ patterns, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah, it looked good.
So I've got that up and running. This morning I put together, actually just a couple of minutes ago, I put together a really crappy, horrible-looking landing page where people can sign up for it off of my blog. I need to get some serious help in redesigning my sign-up pages for these email courses off of my website. And I started tweeting it as well. So I've got 11 people subscribed to it already.
Nice.
Yeah, which once I start getting Twitter cards and Twitter ads going through for this, I'm hoping that it will pick up a lot faster and start getting a lot more subscribers quickly.
Get to go with the cards first before you worry about the landing page.
Yeah,
since that's your primary traffic source.
Right.
Really.
I agree with you there. I mean, I put the landing page up because it was, it took me 10 minutes to just write some stuff and copy and paste the embedded form into it.
Mm-hmm.
But I really do need to get going on the Twitter cards and get that working.
Do you have any kind of so you're using the drip pop-up, right? Is that the only?
No,
you're not using that. Are you? What are you using on your site? Anything?
The embedded forms.
Embedded forms.
Yeah. So when you look at the drip campaigns and you have the sign-up forms, you can do the pop-up, which I do use the pop-up for my JavaScript this course.
Okay, that's what I was asking.
Since it is very generic and generally applies to everything on my website.
Mm-hmm.
But for the specialized ones, I don't use the pop-up.
So if you wanted to get a little fancy, SumoMe, the plugin that I've been using,
right? I've got that installed.
You can do. You might have to pay for it now, but they let you have filters where you can have pop-ups or slide up, the scroll pop-up style,
right,
or hello bar style banners on individual pages and customize them. So you could take anything that relates to RabbitMQ and advertise that course specifically on those blog posts.
Yeah, that'd be a good idea.
It would be. I mean, it's kind of like similar to the content upgrade idea, but it's it's less work.
Right. That'd be a good idea.
And then you could do the same thing with your other ones, like so your JavaScript. This could be like your hardcore JavaScript courses, or your blog, your rants about patching prototype objects.
Exactly.
I personally am a big fan of monkey patching. It's always fun trying to figure out where this.
You're a terrible person, Josh. It's a good thing you don't crack code anymore.
I just like leaving those presents for later developers.
Including yourself. Exactly.
Yep.
So along with the email course, I'm starting to format the same email content into an ebook, which I've got the cover design for the ebook done. Was really easy to do. I took the RabbitMQ logo and the bright orange that it uses, and I made a square of that bright orange, and then turned the RabbitMQ logo into dashed outlines and put a scissors icon cutting into it. So it's cool. The RabbitMQ patterns.
Nice.
So I have that a few times on the cover with my usual little rabbit standing in the corner, and then a handful of, or like 3 or 4 of the RabbitMQ logos already cut out, stacked on top of each other.
Oh, nice. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so it turned out pretty well. I like the cover, and so once I get that done, it's literally just going to be copy and paste of the emails, and then I need to write an intro section for this, and then I'm gonna post it up on LeanPub and offer that as an alternate to giving me your email address, and I'll charge $5 for it the same way I'm doing the JavaScript this one, which I sell a fair number of those. I sell at least one a week on that JavaScript this email or ebook. So I think between the email course and the ebook, I'll get a lot of attention. Should hopefully get a lot of attention and get people into the mailing list, and hopefully this will turn into some sales for the actual large bundle eventually. I've got all the automation set up in Drip so that when you finish the RabbitMQ patterns course, it'll put you into the sales pitch email course, and it'll put you into my standard mailing list as well. So I get people onto my list and into the sales pitches, and it's a pretty aggressive sales pitch. Like the first email in the sales pitch, there's 4 emails total, or 5 emails total. And the first one is RabbitMQ, need help getting started? And it talks about how exciting it is to have these new tools, but how it can be confusing and somewhat challenging, and it can be difficult and frustrating, but you don't have to do it alone. And here's this great bundle of material that has all these amazing things, and you can get 20% off. And then the second email, second, third, and fourth emails are taken from my previous launch sequence. It's the learn the how first, the guide to why next, and now what as the second, third, and fourth emails. And then I have a last fifth email as a last chance to get the package at 20% off.
Is that basically the same deal that you were offering?
No, this is
What was the discount again on the?
The mailing list launch was 25% off.
Okay, well this is not too far off of that though.
No, not too far off, but
yeah.
At a $250 product, it makes a difference.
Yeah.
This will get you down to $199 basically, whereas the mailing list got you down to $186.
Okay. Well, that sounds pretty good. And actually, I can't wait to see what your conversion rates look like off of that, because you've got you're going to be actually advertising the course now.
Yeah.
So you're actually going to be people that are entering it now are like people that have stuck their hand up and said, hey,
right.
I love RabbitMQ versus like, hey, I love Derek Bailey.
Right.
So
hopefully it'll work out. I really need this to work out, because my bundle sales, my product sales are 0 unless I'm doing a launch to my mailing list right now.
Yeah.
And I really need to fix that. I need something to get sales into my bundles so that I can actually have additional income aside from the recurring subscriptions.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. So, if you get, I'll be curious. I'll just be very curious to see what your. So, what was your? Do you remember what your average, like customer value was for the launch?
I don't even think I'm tracking that.
So, like, when what was if you take the total number of people that bought something over the total number of sales?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, or the other way around. Total dollar amount over number of people that bought something. What's that come to?
$140.
Okay, so that gives you enough room, if assuming this converts the same way.
Right.
That gives you enough room that you can.
If I could sell 2 a month,
Mm-hmm.
I'd spend $200 a month on advertising.
Yeah. Yeah, and so from what I was seeing with the like programmer niche stuff on Twitter anyway, for the U.S. it was like engagements were pretty expensive.
Right.
It was like $1, anywhere from like $1 to $4 per engagement.
Right.
But so we'll have to see what your conversion rate. I'd let it run for a while.
Yeah.
You probably need to run at least 100 or 200 people through it to.
Yeah.
Before
I'm thinking a couple of months worth of ads for this to start with, and
I mean, I guess you could just dump a little money into it, but don't go crazy.
Right. I don't want to go crazy, but I mean, I'll probably drop $500 into the ad campaign on Twitter to start with, and then see how it goes from there.
Yeah.
But I need to get some cards built up to make it one-click subscribe.
Right. Yeah. How big is the RabbitMQ? I'm gonna look now. Curious how many followers they have on that
That's a
account.
good question.
Cute.
Not very many. Not even 6,000.
Yeah, that's not cool.
Yeah.
But you can probably, I mean, you could probably target Node, and
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure Node has a lot of,
Right.
and it's not just like RabbitMQ's cross language barrier, right? So
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I
you
mean,
can
it's C++
target Ruby
and .NET and JavaScript and Python and Ruby and Perl and I mean, it's everywhere.
yeah.
Go.
Can you track? So we've not really had a lot of luck with tracking conversions from Twitter.
Yeah.
But you're handling all of it on your site, right? So theoretically, you might be able to get that tracking working correctly.
Yeah, so probably the easiest thing for me to do is, like you were saying last week, put an extra field into the card so that I know the lead came from Twitter.
Right. Well,
And then-
yeah, and if you're gonna, I'm thinking like you're gonna want to target languages specifically too.
Yeah.
So you're gonna want to get granular and say, okay,
Right.
in drip, you want to know who the Ruby guys are and if they're buying, and who the
Right.
C++ guys are and if they're buying. Gosh, freaking chat apps. Like one of my clients wants me to use Voxer,
Oh, jeez.
and like I've got Skype and Slack, and now he wants to use Voxer. I almost told him no, but I'm just gonna grit my teeth for now. And
Voxer was great when I worked for Telerik and we were all in Bulgaria for a week because we all had Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
But nobody wanted to call each other because it would cost money.
Yeah.
So we would just use Voxer to record messages and talk that way.
Yeah. But now my mentor found me already,
Yeah.
and apparently he's on Voxer too.
Yeah.
Good grief. He's always pinged me through Skype.
Mm-hmm.
And so basically what I do is I have all my chat apps on my second screen on my iPhone, so I just have to swipe over, and then I just turn off all the notifications, but leave the little badges on.
Right.
So I can swipe over and see, oh look, somebody IM'd me 6 hours ago. I'll get to that tomorrow. I basically treat it like email.
Nice.
And a lot of times I passive aggressively will email them back.
Nice.
So, yeah. Sorry. Anyway, side rant.
Right. Yeah, no,
You need
I'm
more things that chirp at you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got to go in now and turn off all the notifications for that freaking app.
So that's really all I've been doing this week is just working on that email course, trying to get all this marketing automation set up, which I really need this to work.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to be doing something similar here within the next little bit, and basically, I kind of wanted to walk through some of this with you guys because, so to give a little bit of context, something that I realized now that we hadn't been paying, that we needed to be paying, they came back, and so I have a pretty immediate need for a fairly large sum of money.
Uh-oh.
I'm not going to go into the details on the show. But,
Yeah.
anyway, so I'm trying to figure out. I actually looked at everything, and I was like, okay, what would it take to just pay this off and pay everything else off? And
Right.
ultimately, 20 grand would put me in a good place, and 40 grand would just clear everything. But anyway, so I'm trying to figure out what I can do, and yeah, I basically need the money by the end of August, so I have about 2 months to come up with it. And what I'm thinking is I actually posted to Twitter, and I had an overwhelming response from people saying that they would like basically a course or webinar series on testing, testing software. And so I'm trying to decide, A, should I specialize it so it's like testing Ruby or testing Rails? Or should I do more basic testing concepts and then cover some of the tools that, cut across all web developers? I'm not 100% sure because I have shows that reach all of these. I have shows that reach Angular, Ruby, which is Rails, etc., and JavaScript, which is both the Node backends and all of the JavaScript front ends on web. And I have people across all kinds of stuff. And so I'm trying to decide if I should specialize at some because it'd be easier to target people.
Yes.
Or if I should, or if I should just say like web development. But then it's like, okay, well, everybody, So
right. Yeah, you would dilute your content to the point where it wouldn't be that valuable to anyone if you tried to cover web development broadly. Mm-hmm. The only way you could do that is if you had a tool that was so broadly applicable that everyone could use it. And that's not really feasible at this point in time. Mm-hmm. I mean, things like Phantom.js, which can be used for running your tests in a command line and actually hitting a browser instance that way, that's applicable, but that's a tool that gets used by the language that you're writing in. So you really pick a language, and I'd probably vote for Ruby and Rails for you.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yep.
And go for testing. Start simple with how to test Ruby.
Yep.
And then once you have the basic concepts done, okay, here's how you test a Rails application and go through the big complex thing.
Yeah, that's the plan. So essentially the way I was looking at it was either on the broader one it was going to be here testing concepts, but my examples are all Ruby or JavaScript. Mm-hmm. But I was thinking about Rails specifically, and I was looking at here are basic testing concepts, and you're going to use these tools in Ruby anyway. So let's get familiar with the concepts and the tools at the same time. Mm-hmm. And I was going to basically work through testing Ruby and testing basics with Ruby, so I don't have to worry about all the overhead and the extra stuff that comes with Rails. And then come back through and say, okay, now that we understand testing and we understand these tools, we're going to use them to test Rails. And so then here's how you test your models, here's how you test your controllers, here's how you test your views, here's why you may or may not want to test these different levels or what the trade-offs are.
Right.
And then show off some of the end-to-end testing like Capybara, and then also do the full-on acceptance testing with like Selenium or Phantom.js or something. And then
don't forget. Here's how to comment out your tests when they mysteriously break and you don't feel like fixing them.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. I think though that does get treatment in the here's what to test and here's what not to test. So you're not writing riddle tests and things like that, and stuff like that. But the other thing is I also want to then go back and say, okay, now what we're going to do is we're actually going to test the JavaScript on here. So we're gonna add in Angular or Backbone or something, and then here's how you get tests around your front end. That's not just acceptance testing, so that you can get the fast feedback loop that you want, and probably do 1 or 2 sessions on TDD as well. But I'm thinking that if I'm also trying to decide how long I want to do it, like if I want to do it weekly for 4 weeks or 8 weeks or twice a week for 4 weeks, or if I want to do like a 2-day boot camp, or I don't know.
So you're thinking live event then?
Yep.
Interesting. Okay. I
could sit down and just record a course and sell it.
You could. Well, I would design the live course with that in mind.
Yes.
Yeah. I think you're going to have a hard time making $40,000 in 2 months since you haven't started yet.
Right.
If you tried to go the subscription model or the course to sell online in general, I think your best bet here is to design the course and then do on-site training for some rather large companies. Mm-hmm. Where you can charge $15,000 a pop and do it 2 or 3 times in the next 2 months.
Right.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
And then from that, you can record the material. Now that you've gone through it a couple of times and gotten a lot of feedback and got good at it, sit down and record it. sell it as a complete bundle for a significant amount because you'll have a $15,000 price tag as an anchor point.
Yeah.
And be able to make additional revenue off of it in the future without having to do it on site anymore.
Yeah.
And you can also promise your clients, hey, look, after I get done with this, I'm going to be recording this, and I'll deliver the complete recording package to you for free because you've already paid for it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, just for the immediate need, I need to come up with $10,000.
Right.
Right.
But,
well, okay, just one. I mostly agree with what Derek's saying. One minor counterpoint to that is $40,000 is if you're selling $200 a pop, that's only 200
people.
sales.
Yeah.
And you normally I would say that's pretty steep, but with your podcast reach, that I'd like to see more people on your email lists, but you at least have the podcast reach.
Yeah, that's true.
That's I mean with my mailing list of 5,000 people that were too broadly spread across different subjects, I sold 48 copies of my RabbitMQ bundle.
Right.
Brought in 6,700. But if you have a significantly larger audience, what's your Twitter count?
Twitter accounts?
Yeah, 4,500 for Twitter. But Ruby Rose
has like 9,000 or something.
Yeah. So I mean, you've got potentially 12 or 13,000 people combined right there. You could probably hit a couple of hundred sales of a $200 product bundle.
Yeah. Although it is testing, so that is niche down. That is definitely niche down because right there you're going to be looking at. I mean, what percentage? Let's just be honest. What percentage of Ruby or any kind of developers really take testing seriously?
In Ruby, it's a big deal.
It is. Actually.
Yeah, I know, but like, what do you think? Like, what's the percentage of? Is it half? Is it 20%?
I'd guess half.
I'd say half. Probably.
And the other half feel guilty.
A significant number of those.
Yeah.
A larger number of people give lip service to it. Because they want to be cool, they want to fit in, right?
Right.
But
okay.
I think at least half of them take it very seriously. So.
Okay.
Even at that though, even with potentially, I mean, let's say you have out of all your podcasts, you have 1,000 people that would pay for this.
Mm-hmm.
You're only going to get a percentage of those people that will pay for it right now. Mm-hmm. Your major issue that you're going to run into is the amount of time that it takes to produce this course.
Mm-hmm.
You could pre-sell it.
You could pre-sell it, yeah. But I spent, as an example, 2 months recording the screencasts for my RabbitMQ stuff. I spent a month writing the ebook. I spent a month doing the interviews. I spent a month doing the marketing. I mean, this was a long, drawn-out.
Yeah.
And of course, I'm mixing this in with all my other work. But
John's course took, I think, 3 months of
full-time work.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, I think I really like the idea of,
but I think the on-site training is going to be the best option.
Yeah.
I mean, is there something else obvious that I could do that I'm not even seeing?
Do you have anything? I mean, what do you have now that you could sell?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, could you? I just listened to a podcast with a guy who, he got an autoimmune disease, and like he had to cancel this. He had this big webinar planned, and he was going to make a bunch of money on it. And then he basically was like sent out an email to his list and said, "Look, I just got diagnosed with this. I can't do this webinar. I feel really bad. Here's 99% off everything I've ever done." And he sold it like this huge bundle for like $200, and just blew the doors off. So, is there anything that you have like that you could scrape together and make some big doorbuster, huge deal?
I'm sitting on the talks from Ruby Remote Conf, but I'd have to get the I'd have to get speaker consent to resell.
Mhm.
And I don't know if that's going to happen. And there are a few of the speakers that I can pretty much guarantee are just going to be like, no.
Well, that happened to me, right? I mean, Udi Dahan said, no, I don't want you to sell this.
Right.
But he agreed to let me put it on YouTube.
Yeah.
He basically said, I'll do this interview as long as you put this on YouTube and make it free for everyone. I was like, okay, no problem. That just advertised the rest of my package for me.
Mm-hmm.
Great.
That's true.
So if you have 15 talks and 5 of them say no, but we'll let you put it on YouTube, you can still sell a ton of them.
Oh, that's true. And then I can just turn around and embed those on the web page and say,
did you pay the speakers?
No.
No. So you'd probably want to give them.
I would give them a cut of sales.
Yeah.
There's also the email course that I just put together. Took me about a week of full-time work to put it together. It's 12 emails total. I could easily sell, $10 a pop to get on this email course and to give them the ebook version of it, which will take me a day to put together.
Huh.
So I know that you have courses upon courses upon courses of knowledge that you can write down in meaningful ways and produce these kinds of small email courses.
That's an interesting option because, let's say I do put together a course and it's, hey, you'll get 1 or 2 emails a week, and it'll be teaching you some new concept on testing Rails or writing Rails apps or something like that, similar to Rails clips, but it's not as involved.
Right.
And the research is there and all that stuff, so I guess it's just as involved. I just don't have to record it on a video.
Right.
But
which is a lot easier. I mean, I spent 2 days reading this Enterprise Integration Patterns book just to brush up on the fine details and all of the little things that I had to account for in the emails that I wrote. But I mean, the 2 days of part-time reading when I was bored and didn't want to do anything else.
Right.
So and that turned into some phenomenal knowledge to throw into my email. So there's research there, but you have so much knowledge and experience to start with. Your research is just going to be augmenting, not creating new knowledge.
Right.
Yeah, that's true.
You want to really stay away from that. From someone who's tried it.
Yeah, well, the other thing is if I write enough stuff, I could aggregate it into an ebook or this or that.
Yeah, I would stay away from ebook. I mean, I would stay away from ebooks that aren't really, really easy to produce, put it that way. Because the per dollar, so with ebooks, you have a hard cap. Basically, Kindle, you can get anything on Kindle for $9.99, or at most on a programming book, maybe it's $25 or something.
Right.
And you're not going to get much more than that. So
and the $25 ones are the big manuals on how to...
they're like 1,200 pages.
Yeah, how to configure the world, right? So
yeah, I like that.
If it's
so go with a course, like a course or something like that. I mean, you can easily sell, and it's honestly probably easier to produce. I mean, a 1,200-page book is going to take you 2 years to write.
Right. My email course is approximately 25 pages.
I'm just saying, if I have the testing email course going for 2 or 3 years, then I can go back and I can reformat a lot of that information, as much of it as is evergreen, and then say, oh, and here's the ebook version.
Right, which is what I'm doing with mine.
Right.
It's primarily an email course. I'll get a lot of people signed up for that, but you don't want to give me your email address? Okay, give me $5, and you can have it anyways. Yeah,
my intention with Rails clips is to do the same thing. So once I have all of the information together, I've done all the videos on how to build APIs, because that's where I'm starting, because that's what I did for the Kickstarter campaign. Then I'm going to put together a bundle, and I'm going to say, here you go. Here's all the information. I have all the scripts and transcripts from the episodes, so then I can get in and I can reformat a lot of that stuff and maybe refresh a little bit of it, and put an ebook out, give people the videos, do some extra work with interviews and crap, and just say, look, here's all the bonus stuff, and subscribers get this discount on it.
Yeah. Something else to think about, like, is there a way that you could sell blocks of your time, small blocks of your time, for higher than what you would normally get? Like, is there anything you could offer for 15 minutes? Call in and I will give you 15 minutes of my time for $150. And suddenly you're making $600 an hour, and you block off a couple hours a week or something like that to do. Just another idea to throw out there.
Right.
Not sure how that. Like in marketing, that's something that people can do. I don't know in programming, podcast coaching, if there's a way, if there's a really an opportunity for that, but
maybe I don't know if I could do it like 15 minutes for $150. But I mean, I could probably do. Basically, I could probably do making like $300 an hour. I've sold coaching at that rate before, and it's not that hard. I mean, if people want the help and they recognize me as an expert, then it's an easy sell.
Yeah.
And so, I could definitely do that.
Oh, if I were sitting in your shoes with ideas for products and none of them produced yet, the need for that money within a couple of months, I would still go for on-site consulting.
Yeah, I think I agree.
On-site training as the first route, because that's going to give you the biggest bang for the buck.
And you can pre-sell it. Like, you don't have to have the freaking course done.
I know that.
You could schedule it out for 3 to 6 months from now and get them to pay up front.
Yes.
For it.
If this is knowledge that you implicitly have, you don't even need to do that. When I was doing backbone consulting, I would show up on site. I had this outline of a course that I would teach, but I would show up on site for these companies and ask them, okay, what are your current statuses with your efforts? What are you doing now? What are you wanting to do instead? And make up a course that was customized for them on the spot.
So I guess my issue there is how do I find the companies that want this kind of training?
You put up a landing page and you start using your network. You start using Ruby Rogues and your friends and your email list and everything. You point them to the landing page and say, these are the core topics that we can cover. I will customize this for you. Let's talk. That's exactly what I did. I had it advertised on my blog. I had my landing page up on my now defunct company website, and I had the website backbonetraining.net.
Yeah, I remember that. I looked at that.
Yeah, so I had a whole website dedicated to it, just for the outline of the course that I could teach and the core concepts, and I got a lot of inquiries about it. I still get inquiries about it, even though the website's dead.
But you could put ads on. You could put ads on the Ruby Rogues website too. Yeah. I don't know what kind of traffic you get there, but
on the Ruby Rogues website itself.
Yeah.
Not nearly as many as we get listens.
Yeah, but I would talk about it in your show for a couple of weeks.
Definitely.
And tweet about it and whatnot. You'll get a lot of interest for whatever the course content is.
Yeah, and make it a definite offer. Like, I've got, this is how much it's going to, I'm maybe not going to the cost right away, but, I've got 3 slots that I'm going to be doing in the next 4 months.
Right.
Here are the details.
Yeah.
And get it while you can.
Yeah, and for pricing, at a minimum, $10,000 plus travel and expenses.
Yeah, I did a bit less than that on the last training deal, and
those are for 2 days, Derek?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
2 or 3 days.
I did 3 days. I think I charged them $9,000 for the whole thing.
Yeah, that's
low. It wasn't quite enough.
That's too low. The last training course that I did, I charged. I think it was $10,000 plus travel and expenses. It came out close to $13,000 total.
Yeah.
And that was 2 days of training plus 1 day of consulting.
Yeah. So yeah, I think what I'm looking at is kind of the same thing. So so yeah, I should put that together. I mean, I did testing training for Career Builder, which is the same topic here. It seems like that's what people want, and I could put together a couple of different curriculum, right? So
could you go back to them and see if they want you to do it again?
Yeah.
And then see if they'd refer you to anybody.
Right.
Oh, that's true. They were talking about actually referring me to their. So I did like the line of business folks. So they build all the back end
there you go.
stuff.
Yep.
Right.
And so they were actually talking about referring me to their actual app.
Yeah.
People.
There you go.
And
yeah, and look for I would. So this is something I was gonna do, but since I've been going with the entrepreneurial instead of the B2B space, I haven't had to. But with these bigger, if you can get into a bigger company like that, you can just go from department to department.
Yep.
And just work your way through the whole company. And it's a super. I mean, that's like the easiest, probably the easiest sale ever, because you're already in their system. They already liked what you did, so it's kind of a no-brainer for them.
Yeah, it makes sense. So I definitely see some possibilities there. And I think you're right. I think that is the easiest way to come up with the cash I need. And then I can do these other things. I can put together the courses and stuff, and
when you're doing these, take really good notes of what people are asking you.
Right.
And I think recording them sessions would be great, even if you don't end up using them.
Right.
You don't have to go back. What I've been doing is just recording stuff and then having it transcribed. So, you could do that, and then you could give it to somebody and say, hey, make this into an ebook. Or at least you have all the questions that people asked you. And
yeah, that's true.
Yeah, there's a lot of ways to turn on-site training into a product that can be sold.
Yep. And then if people do want the in-person version, then they can pay for it.
Right.
Yeah, actually, the course I'm taking right now with John Carlton was a 2-day or 3-day seminar, and he just recorded the whole thing.
Right.
And threw a workbook together, and sold it for $2,000.
Yep.
I think the real key
in some ways
is
sorry,
go ahead, Josh.
I was just going to say the live stuff like that is actually better, more interesting, and more like it's more dynamic.
Right.
You got to solve the audio quality issues, but it's more dynamic, and you got the interaction with. You're going to be in front of people, so you're naturally more lively.
Right. Yeah.
And they're going to be asking questions that your listeners are going to have. So.
Yep.
So, what I was going to say is, whatever you decide to do, you need to pick that thing and focus in on it with all your effort and ignore everything else. It's going to be really easy to think, oh, I can do this live training thing, and I can still write this email course because I have time, and I can still do this thing because I have time, and get yourself spread too thin and not get any of it done. Really focus. If you're going to do the on-site training, get that website put up, whether it's on an existing domain name or whatever. Get the site put up there and start pushing it. Start hitting your contacts and start that angle hard without any other things that may have turned into a little bit of money.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And look at whatever you can drop of what you're doing now.
Right.
Or pause.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And so last month was completely nuts. But this month I've basically, the only things I'm working on right now are I'm putting out the podcast as normal, per normal. And then I'm putting together the Rails clip stuff. And that's actually clicking along nicely now.
Nice.
And then, so I just a little update on that. So I have the first 2 videos out. I've got, I realized pretty quickly that I needed a demo app that I could just show people that didn't look awful.
Right.
because Rail Scaffold is ugly. And then, so I got the demo app together. I've got 4 more episodes outlined, and all I have to do is record them. And my editor is so good that I can basically get on and screw up as much as I'm going to screw up, and then he just they come out so nice.
My editor's the same. I love my editor. I'll send him garbage, and he'll produce something amazing out of it.
Yeah, I sent him the videos there, and I was a little worried about what I was going to get back, and I watched some, and I was like, oh my gosh! I was like, hey, can you just these 2 little things? And I mean that was it. And he's like, oh yeah, I can make sure that doesn't happen next time.
Yep. And that kind of feedback, give your editor those little tweaks and those little changes of feedback, and after a few months of working with them, you won't even. I mean, I've been working with my editor for like a year and a half, 2 years now. I send him material. I don't even review it anymore. Tell you the truth, I probably should, but I don't because I'm so confident in what he is going to produce for me. I put it out there the way he sends it back because I know he's going to do that good of a job.
Yeah, and so my approach there is I'm going to do 4 episodes every week, get 4 episodes recorded every week. And what that does is, since I'm releasing 2 every week, it puts me in a position to where when the baby comes around Thanksgiving or whatever, you know what, I can just be like, whatever, I've got 3 months in the can.
Yep.
I'm not going to worry about it. And then after Christmas, it's like, okay, now I'm going to get back to normal.
Careful with that, though, because I did the same thing where I had 3 months of episodes ahead of myself, and I got busy with other things, so I stopped doing it, and then I panicked when it came time to record more episodes because I didn't have anything prepared. I had lost my groove in terms of recording and writing, and it was not fun.
Yeah, I think ultimately my plan is just when I get back to work, I might take a week or 2.
Right.
But then that kind of gets me to Christmas, so it may be right after Christmas when I get back to it. But
right. But yeah, that sounds like a good plan for where you're going. I'm finally a couple of weeks ahead on my screencast again as well. I recorded 2 more episodes this morning, which is good because I'm going to be gone for 2 weeks, so I'm not going to be able to record.
Is that my computer beeping or someone else's?
That's John. He wants us to let him in.
Didn't I?
I did put an invite directly above his plea for.
Can I invite somebody from my call?
Should be able to. Hit that plus people.
I don't. What is this? App draw chat.
I'm trying to send. I'm telling him to just scroll up, and the link is right there. But
is he on Instant Messenger?
Yeah. He's
control room.
See if that works.
No.
There he is. I got him.
Yeah, toolbox. Oh, you got him.
Hey,
Entreprogrammers, joined this video call.
Yes.
All right.
Hey, John.
How's it going?
Good.
So Germany didn't go down in flames or up in flames, or.
I guess so. I just saw that they stopped Uber service in France. So.
Wow.
Temporarily. Yeah.
Oh man.
Is that a Zelda hat?
It is a Zelda hat.
That's awesome.
Wait a minute, that's impossible. That looks like your office.
Huh? No, I'm in Dublin now.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah. I went to the Video Game History Museum in Berlin, and I bought a Zelda hat there to go with my Zelda belt buckle.
Nice.
Awesome.
Oh, I think I lost audio there.
So yeah, I don't know where we were, so we'll just move on, I guess.
Yeah,
we're talking about Rails clips.
Okay.
Right, we're talking about your Rails clips and your progress on that. And
whatever.
Yeah, and then the other thing that I'm putting up and I need to work on, but I can mostly delegate that at this point, is that I want to do some more conferences this fall.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a little bit of website tweaking, and then the rest of it's all configuration. So I'll probably put that off for a couple weeks and then go for it. But yeah, and then with the conferences, I was talking to Mandy, and she misunderstood something that I was telling her. I don't remember exactly what I was telling her. But anyway, what she misunderstood wound up being a terrific idea.
Nice.
And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put together I just got the artwork back for it today, but I'm going to put up another podcast feed or 3. I think I'm going to do 3. One will be full-size video, one will be like mobile video for phones, and then one will be audio only, and I'm going to put up the talks from the remote conferences.
Nice.
Oh, that's good. Yep.
And then the idea there is that whenever we have a new conference announced, we'll just put a short announcement in there.
Nice.
And then people can go and they can subscribe to the feeds and get the conference talks. So JS Remote Conf, those talks have been released for like 3 months. So I can put those in and release one every week. And then the cool thing is that by the time that's done, that's about when I was planning to release the Ruby Remote Conf talks public on YouTube. And so I can do that, and then the next conference and blah, 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 so on and so on. And so, we can basically, so I'll have years worth of content coming out on that feed. And I can
try Signal.ly for that.
Try what now?
Sorry.
Signal.ly private service.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me just. I gotta go.
But yeah, so that's the plan. So it'll be basically my marketing arm to some degree for the remote conferences.
Nice.
Cool. Yeah, that's a great idea. Because then you're reusing content, you're doing marketing with the content you already have. So yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
Yep. So that's the plan. So that's what I got going on. What I've been thinking about here. But yeah, I think I'm going to put that page up probably today or Tuesday. I'm taking Monday off to go to the water park with my family.
Nice.
But yeah, get that page up and then start talking about it on the shows.
Yep.
See if I can land a few coaching clients.
John might have a few leads for you on that too.
Yeah.
And what's that? On coaching clients?
Yeah.
Or
For
in-person training, sorry.
Yeah, for testing.
Okay.
Testing.
Yeah.
For test automation or just testing?
Either or. I've done both.
Okay, yeah, I'll see. I get a few. I definitely get people contacting me about that, and then I can probably send some your way if I get more. So.
Sounds good.
But don't do consulting.
Yeah, I got a little bit of room there. And the complete honest truth there is that I actually have a sponsor invoice out right now that it's for more than 10 grand, so it would get me out of this fix for the immediate term. But anyway, that reminds me, one other thing I was looking at. I was looking at my sponsors, and when the years are up for all of my sponsors, after what it costs to put the podcast out there, it turns out that I'll actually be bringing in about 10 to 13 grand every month.
Nice.
Sponsorships.
Nice. That's great.
And that's net, so that's what I'd be able to keep.
Right.
And so I just need to basically be able to survive the next 3 months.
Very nice.
And why are you having trouble surviving the next 3 months?
I found a bill that hadn't been paid for a while, and I need to come up with about 10 grand to pay it.
Oh, okay.
So that's where I'm at.
That's where the testing clients and whatnot comes from.
Yeah.
If you need a quick fix, I can help you out. Did I just say that? If you need a quick fix. No, but
you know which part to run through, right?
Yeah.
If you're short, you're good for it. I can definitely. I mean, we could talk offline, but.
Yeah. Well, you had this conversation with Derek. I'm not sure how comfortable I am borrowing money from you either.
Yeah, the bank of John.
I'm afraid.
John's
of
been very aggressive about trying to get
baseball bat. That's what I'm afraid of.
John's been very aggressive about trying to get people to borrow money from him. So.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so here's the funny thing about this, right? So I was just having this conversation about people in general that want to borrow money from us or want us to give them money because they know that we're doing well, like family, like whatever.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
friends, things like that, acquaintances, really that are high school people they never ever actually really even knew. But anyway, so my whole thing, we were just having this conversation in the car, and I was just saying, like, I would not give money or lend money to those people because they're already mismanaging their money. So I would lend money just like a bank would. So the people who I would give money to or lend money to, either one, would be people who wouldn't really need it. Just they would use it to expand their business, to carry them over for, and so that's why, like for example, like your situation, Chuck, it's like, like if I lent you 10K, it would be back to me in a couple of months. Like, and there's like you've got a business, like it's something. It would be,
and
it's
at
not
400% interest, that
and if you couldn't pay me, you'd be cutting your cable. You'd be like like your first priority in life would be to pay me. Like, I know that you're that kind of a person, whereas certain people that would ask for money would be ones who they have like $200, $250 cable bill with all the premium channels, max cell phone plans for their whole family, driving brand new cars with payments, and basically living a higher lifestyle than I am, yet in worse financial conditions. So that I would never ever give them money, no matter how desperately they need it. So that's kind of like the whole thing. It's just an interesting, like it's like you start to think like a bank.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you don't need money, so I will give you money.
I appreciate the confidence.
Yes.
But yeah. And then I've been telling people no. I've been saying no to stuff, and it was hard at first, but it's starting to get better.
Yeah. I started the process of refinancing my house this week.
Ooh.
Nice.
Which I've been needing to do it for 4 years. So 4 years ago, I couldn't do it because I had just quit my job. 3 years ago, I couldn't do it because we had financial difficulties. 2 years ago, I couldn't do it because I quit consulting and went to work for Telerik. And then last year, I couldn't do it because I quit Telerik and went back to consulting. It's like, okay, I've been a consultant for more than a year now. I have my tax returns. I have everything that I need. Finally. All right. So I'm looking at two options right now. I have 20 years left on the house. We've been in the house for 10 years. And so I'm looking at 10 years to pay it off would increase my monthly payment by about $300, which I've been basically paying that anyways. I've been overpaying every month for the last 6 months or so.
And what's the interest rate on the 10-year option?
It's like 3.7 or something like that.
Okay, that's good.
And then the 15-year option would keep my monthly payment where it is, but allow me to pay it off 5 years faster than I currently would. And I'm more inclined to go with the 10-year option, just because I'm basically paying that now anyways because I'm overpaying. And I want to get rid of this payment faster.
Okay, so now you're in my field of expertise.
I have
right.
So here's the thing. What's the interest rate on the 15-year option?
It's not much different.
Okay.
It was like a 0.1% different.
Okay, so here's the thing. So between the 10 and the 15, the 15-year option is better.
Really?
But if you can do a 20 or a 30-year option, and the payment and the interest rate percentage is not that much different, if it's still not much different, right? If it's still under 4%, then do the longest term that you can. Do the 30-year, and here's why: because you can still pay it off in 10 years. You can just make the payments. So you can figure out the amortization schedule for a 10-year. But if you get in a bind, right, and you suddenly want to make less payments, if you're on the 10-year problem, you're going to be shaving a little bit of an interest rate, but it's going to be a problem. They're going to take your house, like you'll foreclose. But if you're on the 30-year, right, then you could pay the minimum payment and be okay to float for a couple of months if you need to. As someone who doesn't have a regular job, who's an entrepreneur, you definitely, unless it's such a high savings, which it usually isn't. Like, I would say that probably the difference between your 10-year, like if your 10-year is about 3.75, I bet that your 30-year is going to be like 3.9. Which I would personally take the 30-year 3.9, and then just make the 10-year payments.
Yeah, I'm 100% in agreement with that. I I made the same call. We had Dave Ramsey, he's really big on only 15-year mortgage, only 15-year mortgage. Well, I get where he's coming from on that, but to me, I want to lower my risk as much as possible. And by going with the lowest possible payment, I'm lowering my risk, I'm lowering my exposure as much as I can. Okay. And then I can always, and we do, we overpay as well.
Right.
So, yeah, definitely agree with John on that. And actually, like, a lot of times you'll find that, at least for us, like right now our mortgage payment's only like $800 a month.
Jeez.
Well, because we refinanced. Like, we paid off more than half of our house, and then we refinanced and got it down to about $800 a month. But like 250 or 300 of that is taxes. That's not going away. It's taxes and insurance. So, like, basically, I looked at the 15-year, and it would have increased my payment by like $200 a month, and the interest rate was like, we would have had to take the full term to pay it off to actually save money at the interest rate difference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. In fact, what you can do also is you can potentially, like, you have to look at this. I mean, you have to really run the numbers if you really want to crunch it down to the. But you might be able to take a 30-year and pay a certain number of points. Like, sometimes the points are cheap, and you might be able to get at the same or better interest rate as the 10-year by putting a little bit of cash outlay out of hand. Or if you know that you're going to be holding on to the house, right? It might even roll into the loan and put another a couple grand into the loan. But it will save you money like after year 3 or 4, and you'll still have the option. So there's I usually end up paying some kind of points on loans when I get loans. Just like I price them out and see that it's usually worthwhile to pay. Like, 1 point is usually heavily discounted. You get a good bargain on that. That will drop the interest rate, where you have like a recovery period of 2 to 2.5 years. And anytime I can do that, I almost always do that, because I'm for sure holding a property for more than 2.5 years. Right. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have no plans on ever moving, so.
Then I would say what you really want to do is get a spreadsheet, go through, look at compare the 10 to the 30, and then talk to whoever you've got doing your mortgage refinance, and just ask them, tell them that you're considering some discount points, and you want to know, what's kind of the best deal on the discount points, like what does it cost you for 1 point, and how much will it lower the interest rate, and see where that is, and then kind of calculate that out, and then you can capture the break-even point on that and see what that is. And you can also, on that same spreadsheet, you can calculate how much more money you'll be paying per month by choosing the higher interest rate with the 30-year versus the 10, for how much you'll be paying for the flexibility. Right. But it's probably going to be a very small amount. So I would guess like the very, very best, smartest move in your situation is going to be to probably get the 30-year fix and paying somewhere like half to a full point if you can, and then that will be the best scenario that you could possibly be in say like 3 to 4 years from now. Like you'll probably be that'll be the best choice, like looking that far into the future.
Okay. Interesting. Okay, cool. Lots to think about.
Yeah. But don't let it paralyze you from making a move, because obviously
definitely not.
Saving money on your
house. I have a financial advisor that manages all my my investment stuff, and so I can ask him about this stuff. Of course, I have to talk to my wife, and then I'll definitely talk to the mortgage lender as well.
Yeah. And if you want to send me like the actual like real numbers of like percentages and stuff, I can quickly take a look and tell you in what the points cost. I can give you like a 95%. I'm sure that this is the best move type of answer. So
yeah, I'll do that. I'll forward. I've got the 10-year and the 15-year, and I'll ask for a 30-year as well, and I'll forward all that to you.
Okay. Yeah, I've probably closed on like somewhere around 30 loans now.
Yeah.
So I've run these
Yeah, I
numbers
think
so
I've
many
actually
times.
done like 5. Because we bought a house and then sold it like 2 years later. We bought a townhouse and then sold it like 2 years later to buy the house we're in now. And I've refinanced twice. So
Yeah. 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 It's interesting though. Like a lot of people don't really run the numbers, just consider the points and everything.
So speaking of finances, so yesterday I spent about an hour and a half on the phone with a guy. I met a tax advisor at my Bob Bly event that I went to this spring.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy he's an enrolled agent. So basically, there's two types of tax people. Broadly speaking, there's a general CPA, and then there's enrolled agents who they have some additional certification from the IRS, and they can represent you if you get audited, basically. So if your CPA is working with you and you get audited, then you'd probably get kicked up to an enrolled agent. So this guy, he's pretty sharp. I've been liking him, but we did some back of the envelope calculations, and I think I'm not like in trouble with quarterly taxes, but I've definitely need to step that up, and I have some ground to make up this year. So I'm trying to figure out. I'm like just kind of bummed about that. Well, because what he told me was like, so we went through my numbers, and he's like, well, kind of sounds like you should right now you should be setting aside 50 cents of every dollar that comes in for taxes. And I'm like, what? That seems
not possible.
That seems real. So I think he was misunderstanding something about my situation in what I just, because we were doing it all verbally over the phone.
I set aside 30 cents for every dollar.
Okay.
And I keep a big chunk of that at the end of the year.
Yeah, see, that's what I've been doing, actually. The way I've got it set up right now, so I've got my business checking account, and then twice a month I'm pulling out automatically basically enough to cover our living expenses, plus 30% of that for taxes, plus 10% for our giving that we do. And so that goes, it all gets pulled out in one lump sum, and I've got automatic transfer set up to just distribute it to my other accounts. So like the tax money gets set aside automatically. At the moment I'm not taking tax money out of every cent that comes through the door, because I'm waiting until I actually go to use that money for personal use. Because if it's for business expenses, I'm not going to pay taxes on it, right?
Well, no. Well, I see.
You're going to get a tax break off the business expense, but you're still So if you want to avoid paying sales tax on a business expense, you got to have all your
I don't care about
tax forms. Yeah.
Well,
it's not that you don't pay taxes on business expenses; it's that you get a tax break at whatever your tier is. So when I spent $25,000 in marketing mistakes last year on my credit cards, I didn't get $25,000 in tax breaks. I got like $3,000 or $4,000.
No, you did. You got 25.
It comes off the top of your taxable income, right? So like if I spend $25,000 on marketing education this year, I don't pay my 30% tax, whatever. I don't pay my income tax on that $25,000, correct?
Right. It's basically this. Yeah. I mean, if you have an income and an expense, right? So, if you have $1,000 come in, that you made that money, and then you spent $1,000 to make that cost of doing business expense, then you're net zero. So your net is what you're. So it comes down to what your deduction. I don't know. I mean, like you can look at effective tax rates, which you'll know once you file taxes this year what your effective tax rate is. Which your effective tax rate is essentially what all your income versus what you actually end up paying. So
Right.
your deductions are going to make your effective tax rate. So I think like my effective tax rates are somewhere around like 23 to 29% every year.
Okay. Is
So
that total of everything, or?
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
so that's well, you don't have state income tax, but that's federal. Is that like your Social Security?
I've got state income tax in Idaho and Missouri,
Oh, okay.
but not much of it, right? So,
Okay.
but you should be. I mean, 30% is a pretty decent number, like maybe
Well,
35%, like.
Yeah. So I've definitely, I think at this point I've definitely have probably underpaid. I think what I probably should be doing is I think I should be more aggressive about taking money. Well, what I need to do is I need to get with my bookkeeper. So one thing this guy said was that really your bookkeeper should be calculating all this for you. Like, you shouldn't have to, which with my previous bookkeeper was not, that I just didn't even know that that was something they did, so I didn't even ask if she could do that for me. So I'm checking with the one that I'm working with now. If not, I don't want to have to think about this. He walked me through like the whole formula for estimating it, and it's I can totally do it, but I don't really want to spend the 2 or 3 hours to do it. So
Yeah. I mean, if your books are being kept up to date at any given moment, they should basically be able to say, okay, here's what your tax liability is.
Well, yeah, but I need to like know. I need to have. There's some additional data they need, like my tax deductions from last year, or for like personal my personal deductions, not the, because that all kind of comes into play too.
Yeah. The big thing, I mean, it's also, I don't know. I mean, the way I do it is I just say, okay, how much money am I going to make this year? X number of dollars, take that percentage, right? 30%. That's how much money I need to have at the end. However, whenever I save that money, I usually save it towards the last half of the year.
Yeah, so I specifically asked him about that, and what he said was that you can still get dinged pretty good for that, because what happens is when you go to file, the IRS, like, there's basically a form that your tax preparer has to fill out. It pops up and it says, what were your quarterly estimated payments, and how much was, like, basically it calculates how much was owed, and then you have to basically say when was this all paid, and if you're putting all that in that fourth slot, they can still hit you. So
not if you
for every tax professional that I've ever talked to, every last one of them has said that you're wrong, John.
I've been doing it this way for years. I've never paid any.
Yeah, but it doesn't. Have you ever been audited?
No, but
okay. Well, I mean, if you get audited, like, it could be a matter of, you just haven't gotten caught, or they haven't decided to care yet.
Well, yeah, okay, but you have less than a 1% chance of being audited. So every 100 years you'll be audited. So
well, but I think I think that's not really a relevant stat for us, because we have so many other. I bet you our percentage of being audited as self-employed people is much, much higher than that.
Not when you're dealing with a high profit margin business like we do, because there's not a lot of, so most of the people that are making the kind of ranges that we're able to make have a lot of inventory, right? And inventory is where people fudge big time, right? And so because we're not carrying any inventory, like, our numbers are pretty straight, right? It's like you can't really make up a lot of stuff that doesn't right? You've got very well documented income, very well documented, like, expenses.
Yeah.
So it's really, I don't know. I haven't gotten any. I mean, I do it by as close to the book as you can, and I haven't gotten any kind of issue with it. I have to carefully pay it so that I make sure that the catch-up payment is enough, and then I still have to pay in Q1 of the next year to catch up enough to hit it. But what it is they take an average of the quarterly payments. So that's why you have to pay a lot extra to average it out.
You have to pay. I mean, you still have to pay the full amount, but they still ask you when each payment. They still ask when each payment was made, and they know exactly. So they know exactly when you did or didn't pay those quarterly payments.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, because I file a 941 every quarter.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but the thing is, like, even when I ran the numbers and looked at the penalty, the interest rate, the nominal interest rate that you could get on that money was way, like, I would just pay the penalty, like, here you go, because I'm not going to let the IRS hold my money when I can make a lot more money off of that money. And I do, because if I take that money and I put it into a real estate loan that I'm paying like a 6% interest rate on, like, okay, IRS, you're going to have to, you're not going to charge me more than 6%, right, on the cash. So it's much better for me to not give that to them early. So
right.
I don't know. So, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a tax accountant. But you know.
Well, I hope you keep getting away with it, or you know, that's not actually a problem. But
all I know is if my CPA signs off on it and advises me to do it, that's a pretty good defensible position to be in, right? As now a non-CPA, okay, but as a CPA, right, I've got someone to fall back on. If you advise me in a professional capacity to do a thing and you're licensed, and then I do that thing and I get in trouble for doing that thing, well, it's pretty much like a slam dunk case against you, right? Yeah. So I'm not worried.
Yeah, very true. Like with my CPA, I mean, I give my CPA power of attorney over my financial reporting. And so if my financial reporting and taxes are screwed up, it is legally their fault.
Yeah, as long as you've provided the correct information to them. That's where your, thing, obviously the IRS will come after you directly, but then you will come after them, and it'll be people that take fiduciary responsibility are definitely hit by the law very harshly. So.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but I gotta get with my bookkeeper then and make sure I get that squared away, because I don't want to be. Because I've already made a decent amount of money this year. Actually, maybe it's not as much as I should look at that real quick. I think I was just getting a whole bunch of numbers confused in my head. Yeah, so far this year, like, I've made $51,000 in like the secondary income between everything.
Nice.
So, and I still have about 25 of that in my business checking account.
Oh, so then you're good.
Yeah, and then but I haven't paid any taxes on that.
And then you've got 3 kids.
So. Yeah. Yes, I have 3 kids. So, but yeah, I just need to figure out what the number is actually going to be. It's been weird. Like, we're still not. So it's only been about 6 weeks at this point. We're just still not sure. I don't know, like, I don't yet have a good sense for my break-even point in terms of what do I actually have to bring in the door with the business to to have extra money to set aside. I don't have a good sense for that yet.
Yeah.
Well, you need a cushion anyway, right? So, like, I mean, you're in a good position for, like, you should have at any time $20K cash available, like.
Yeah.
Probably. Like, you're in the position where you could make that a reality. So just you should have. Just not to call you guys out on the rug here, but Derek and Chuck, if they had $20K set aside, like, just as a cushion, both of their problems would have been avoided. So, obviously you'll probably run into issues in the future. So if just learning from what you're seeing, issues that they're having, if you have $20K put aside, then you'll never have to worry about that.
We've actually got that in our emergency fund. And then I've got this money. So my goal in my business account is I want to have at least a couple of months. So since I've got these automatic withdrawals set up, I want to have at least a couple months, like, quote unquote salary in there, and plus business expenses, so that I don't ever have to, like, worry, oh gosh, how am I going to get $4,000 so that I don't have to, like, worry about all those scheduled transfers. And then I've got that money gets transferred out of my business account into our income. Like, we have this income account that's like a checking account, but I never use the debit card for it. So it's like there's no way anybody can get to it. And then I don't even think we have a debit card for it because we've had our debit card stolen before. So the one that we use for everything is basically not connected to any of the other accounts. Yep. And we keep that money, like there's a small amount of money in there. So if somebody gets our card, they can get like $800, and then they're done. But yeah, I want to have like 2 months worth of expenses.
Did he just freeze for you guys too?
Yeah. I figured it must have been me, but
yeah, I thought it was me too. It's like because I've had problems with my internet lately. I guess Josh is gone.
Josh lowered his internet service to save money.
He's saving $5 a month to live.
But yeah, what he's talking about is where I'd like to be too. You know, so I have a few months worth in the bank, and then a few months worth,
right,
in the business, so that it's just, hey, you know, I know I'm in good shape because I can cover expenses for either or both for a few months, and that includes my salary on the business.
Yeah. You have to be careful though too. One thing about buffers, though, is it's good to have a buffer, but you got to really be careful to calculate how much it is. Like, it's not like the end of the world, but too big of a buffer is like burning money, because whatever's in your buffer is basically money that is no longer yours, essentially. Like it's like you threw it away, in a sense, because if you never use it, then you never will use it, so it's never helping you. So, like, for example, I have $20 bills, I've talked about this before, scattered all over the place, right? Like in my backpacks, in my shoes, like just in case I need cash at some point. But that money is basically like it's gone. Like it might be used at some point in the future, but because it's always being like if I did use it, I would refill it. So it's essentially like I've got whatever. If I've got $100 scattered out, that $100 is basically not mine anymore. But I have peace of mind. So like you have to be a little careful. Like sometimes someone will make like a 100K buffer, and I'm like, whoa, what are you doing? Like you can put that money to work for you. Like the best buffers are like dual purpose buffers, or things like a 401K that you could tap into like in an emergency, that you could pay the penalty and then pay back or borrow from, or like a really high limit credit card that you could get a fairly cheap cash advance in combination with some cash.
Yeah, I was gonna do one thing we were gonna do, and I didn't end up doing, was get a HELOC for that purpose. Like they're like $300 a year, and it's enough of a pain that I probably wouldn't. There's enough pain there that I probably wouldn't tap it, you know, on a whim. But if I needed $50K for something, it would be there. So I should have done that and didn't.
My wife and I have talked about doing that.
Yeah, it's like, I think if you're like Chuck, I think in your case I would not want to do it, because I'd want to get all my debt paid off first and everything, because otherwise it's just too tempting. I mean, what a lot of people do is they'll take the HELOC and then they'll roll their debt into the HELOC, and then they'll kind of just sort of start to accumulate debt again slowly, and then you just you basically you're just growing your mortgage.
Yeah, I mean, if you're disciplined, like if you can get a HELOC at a good rate, like a couple % rate, I don't know if back in the day it was really, you could get a really low percent, but if you get like a 2 or 3% HELOC, then I would get a HELOC, consolidate all my debt into that, and then pay it as aggressively as I was paying it before. I mean, you have to have discipline.
Right.
You know, again, like almost all the financial solutions, like it ends up being like you have to have discipline.
Right.
Yeah.
And if someone doesn't have discipline, then they won't get into the situation in the first place. The case, but if you have the discipline, you're going to get out from the situation no matter what you do. You're just optimizing the thing. Right?
Well, it's not worth it. Like if you're paying 25% interest on a credit card, yeah, that might make sense. But if you're probably not paying that high of a rate, and like it's the interest over a couple of months is not really going to make a difference. Like $500 in interest savings is, going from 8% to 2% or whatever it would be, and it's just not worth. It's not worth it.
Yeah, for us it was mostly that we get into these situations where it's like, oh crap, we got to pay this right now. We're gonna.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, well, let's just make all that go away and then just deal with one creditor.
Yeah, I personally I wouldn't do it until I had the emergency fund built up. because then otherwise it becomes your emergency fund. And you're basically using debt as your emergency fund.
Yeah.
You need like a secondary buffer to.
Yeah.
It works good as a secondary, but you.
To me, it's almost like the catastrophic health insurance policy. You know, it's like.
Right.
You know, it's like if 10 really bad things all happened at the same time, and I was like $100,000 in debt, then I'd consider using it. But.
Yeah.
It's interesting that you brought up 401ks and whatnot as a dual-purpose buffer there, John, because I've got a fairly sizable retirement savings between me and my wife, and we've always talked with our financial advisor as if that were never really an option for us to take money out, but in reality, you know, if we ever did end up with $100,000 in debt for some catastrophic reason, you know, well, okay, there goes our retirement savings, but you know, we're gonna stay out of the poorhouse.
Is there, John? You mentioned the loan thing. Is there a way to can you take a loan against your 401k? And
it depends on the account.
So you'd avoid the fifth, because it's basically 50% tax, right?
No.
Only if you don't pay it back before you move jobs.
Okay. So I've taken money out of 401k. I closed my 401k and just took all the money out.
Yeah.
And what you end up paying is first of all, it's just regular income. Okay, and then you pay a 10% fee, a penalty, and that's it. So for a lot, that's why people say 50%, because they're like, well, 30% plus state tax plus and then 10%
that makes
penalty.
Sense.
But
you're giving half of it to the government.
Yeah, I mean, you're paying income tax on that anyway.
And
so okay, here's the reality of the situation of 401k. If you take your money out of your 401k right now, right, even when you pay the 10% penalty and the current tax rates, you're going to make more money than when you take it out later, and I'll tell you why. Because you think taxes are going to go up or down in the United States? Look at the taxes around the rest of the world. Okay, we're becoming more socialist. So if the highest tax rate right now is 39%, right?
Right.
So if you're clocking in at like $200,000-300,000 a year, and you take out your 401k, you're going to get taxed 39%. You have a 10% penalty. So let's say that you're right at that 50% there.
Yeah.
Okay. But in the future, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, I would guess that that same 200.
Yeah, but you're not going to take that big lump sum out. That's the difference. You're going to take it out. The idea is that you take out $50,000 a year for 20 years, not that you take out $500,000 or $1 million all at once. I agree with you for sure. If you did the lump sum distribution later, you're going to get whacked. But
well, it depends. I mean, even the lowest tax margins are going to be. It depends on what money you make in the future. I mean, if you're going to do well in the future, then you're going to pay more taxes. I really don't like 401ks. I think it's betting for the future that the stock market will continue to go up. Plus, the taxes when you take it out, you're going to get nailed on the taxes. A Roth IRA is a better option because you're at least paying the taxes.
I disagree. Yeah, that's the thing.
Until we run out of money, and then they say, "Hey, Roth IRA, guess what? We're going to tax you anyway."
Yeah,
and that'll happen because guess what? Because who holds Roth IRAs? It'll be rich people, and poor people will say, "We don't care. We don't care if it's dishonest to tax people twice. They've got money."
Well, three times at that point.
Yeah. So I mean, whatever you do, you're kind of screwed unless you become an entrepreneur. and count on businesses making you money.
Well, but see, I don't know. I don't think that's
ownership.
Here's the question though. Say I start making a fair amount of money. What do I do with that money right now? Do I just put it in a bank account and let it waste away?
Real estate. And
then when it comes time to retire, how do I get my money?
No government has ever seized real estate.
Okay.
Domain.
okay, when government sees real estate, honestly, then you're screwed with whatever. Like you're just done. Like real estate will be the last thing. Like land ownership is the primary right, right? And that is expanding in the world, not decreasing, right? You can buy land in almost any country now, any non-third world country, and not have to fear that the rights are going to be private property rights are still very secure. We survived the Iron Curtain and all that. So I mean, it could reverse, but if that happens, you're screwed. But real estate, honestly, like I mean, and Derek, most of all my retirement, I mean, the reason why I quote call myself retired is because I have enough income coming from real estate every single month to live off of. So that's the plan. You just have properties, and with real estate, you can turn the knob to either leverage or cash flow. If you turn to the leverage side, you're maybe buying properties with 10% down payment, and you got 90% financed by the bank. So if they go up, if a property goes up 10%, you actually make 100% return on your investment because you've only put 10% down, and you got a 10% on the bank's 90%. If you crank the knob the other way to cash flow, then what you're doing is you're buying properties and you're basically paying them out. Maybe you pay 100%, like you bought a property cash. Now with a cap rate around like 9 or 10%, so that basically means that your investment is producing a 9 to 10% return from the rents for you. So maybe in that situation you're putting cash in your pocket every month. But either way, that's the best investment. And the other piece of it, why real estate is so good, is because it's a hedge against inflation. So all the other investments that you do, like, okay, even your 401k, so especially your 401k, you put money in 401k, you put it in stock markets, you put it in bonds, anything like that, those are all, well, forget bonds, but it's stock market. It's hurt by inflation, and so as inflation goes up, suddenly all your entire asset, your entire portfolio value just drops in value as we print more dollars, which I think we're going to be printing a lot more dollars. And if you have real estate, though, it doesn't. It actually, so if you have real estate and it's finance.
John freeze?
I think so.
Yeah. Right in the middle of.
Too hot to handle.
Yes.
Yeah, for me, my plan. Right now, I'm not doing anything. So my first thing is I need to do
That's
something.
bad.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I have been putting money aside.
I got censored.
Yeah, you did.
Totally.
I was about to drop the secrets on you, and I got censored.
Yeah.
The government won't let you speak, man.
So right now, I'm not doing anything at all, and that's going to change. That's my first priority, to change that. And for now, what I'm gonna be putting aside, I'm gonna be maxing out my pre-tax, whatever I can do pre-tax. So because I'd rather get the growth on the money versus the Roth IRA, where the government takes 30 or 40%, and I don't get the growth on that money. So I agree that we're probably, I'm not super optimistic, and I don't know that there's really anything you can do that's all that safe.
There is, though. Well, okay. The real estate is the one. Again, inflation.
Well,
let me hit the inflation point here, because we're going to get squeezed by inflation. And here's the thing. Let's say, this is the cool thing about real estate. Like, let's say you have a loan financed, right? If inflation hits, you owe less money to the bank, because that money value has decreased. Right. Your debt has now decreased, and the value of your property has increased, and the rent generation capability of that has increased. So it's a hedge against inflation. Yeah. Every other investment is going to get killed by inflation and taxes. And here's the other thing about real estate, right? If you want to make money from another type of investment, let's say your 401k invested in stock market, bonds, mutual funds, whatever. But please don't do mutual funds. But if you do that, if you want to take that money out, you have to pay taxes on that, right? Whereas real estate, the money comes from rent. That's a cash flow that's constantly being put in your pocket, so you don't have to pay taxes, like a big lump sum tax on the real estate. Plus, you have deductions.
But it's just regular. It's just regular income. So you're paying. It's not really any different than if you sell. I mean, if you sell a bunch of stock, you're gonna pay income tax on it. It's not really any different. It's just a one-time distribution versus a monthly.
Well, okay. Consider this. The real estate has a straight line depreciation of 22.5 years. So you buy real estate and the structure value of the property is depreciated over 22.5 years. So you get deductions just for owning the real estate, just straight tax deductions, and if you never sell it, you never pay those back, right? So if you collect the rents from it, plus you have all kinds of ongoing expenses. All the mortgage interest that you pay on real estate is tax deductible, complete deductions, property maintenance, management fees, insurance, all of that. So you end up really like your percentage returns on real estate, like on most of my holdings, like my yearly percentage return for the value of the property is somewhere between like 10 to 20%. Mm-hmm. Like you can't beat that, and there's hardly any risk at all.
I mean, I on my 401k, I've been getting. I need to look at it, but it's not unusual for me to get 10%. Yeah, but I haven't invested aggressively.
But you're getting, so you could get 10% every year, right? Right? What happens when you get knocked down by a 50% down year?
It comes back. I mean,
it doesn't come back.
That happened. Yeah, it did.
It doesn't. It doesn't matter.
It came all the way back.
Yeah,
it didn't come back.
The market crashed to 7,000 in 2008, and I held everything I had, and it all came back.
Okay, so here's
it only doesn't come back. It only doesn't come back if you sell at the bottom, and if you need that money, you shouldn't be invested anyway.
True, but okay, pop quiz for you then. If stock market goes down 50%, your portfolio value drops 50%, mm-hmm. and then it increases back to the same level. It increases by 50%. What is your net?
No, it would increase by 100%.
Right.
To go back to the same level.
If you take a 50% loss, you have to have a 100% gain to make up for it.
Which is we've had that since 2008.
Well, yeah, that's exactly. It's been 100+%.
Yeah, so if you leave it in for the long haul, then you can pretty well count on it coming back to where it.
Yeah, and the stock market. It's not like the stock. I mean, the stock market's been around for 100+ years, and so when they talk about the numbers, there's a 100+ year track record there.
Not really, because there's a few things with it. So one of them is that it has never been traded. It has only been traded electronically for a very short period of time, mm-hmm. and at the speed at which it's electronically traded for an even shorter period of time. And the shortest period of time is not just the speed, but that it is mostly mechanically traded by algorithms now. 11% of all trades are algorithmic trades. So that's a very different environment. And the thing is, when you average out the stock market returns, like for the last 100 years, right, the average return on the S&P 500 or the same group of stocks that would make up, essentially before the S&P 500 existed, is really somewhere around 5 to 6% return per year. But that doesn't count dips, right? So when you put in if you just held it for that period of time, then it drops down.
Yeah, but so real estate never dips. You're telling me?
Well, here's the thing: real estate never increases. What it does is it hedges against inflation the entire time. But it has its own return. It is like a dividend yielding stock. It doesn't. I'm not buying real estate saying real estate should go up. Real estate goes up in line with inflation. People think real estate actually goes up. It never does. It never appreciates. Since World War II, real estate has always gone up, and so has inflation.
That's not true, though. I mean, the property value in my house, if I were to sell my house now, I would be about $40,000 more than
because
what
of
I paid
inflation.
for it. No. Well, inflation is 2.5% a year or less, and we've been in this house for 7 years, and the value of it has gone up about 25%. That's not
okay. Don't misunderstand. It doesn't follow the line exactly. It toes at this, right? Real estate is a more volatile
exactly.
asset but the inflation is more constant, right? But real estate still toes the line. It averages out to the same if you
across the whole country. But real estate is completely regional.
Exactly.
And if
you're right.
If you buy in, you have to make the right calls and buy in at the right time at the right places.
and you could buy the right stocks at the right time at the right places. You can't like as far as like an investment.
And if you did that in the stock market, you can
make.
If you buy stocks at the right time, you can make 200, 300, 400%.
You can.
I mean,
you can.
The potential gain is huge.
Right, but you can't pick them, right? And that's the whole thing. Is
right.
what I'm saying is that you can't pick them. You could get lucky, but you could get unlucky. But in general,
but you have the same risk with houses. I mean, or with real estate, you've got to pick. You still got to pick the right properties, or you're going to lose your shirt.
It doesn't go. It doesn't go down. Not in general. Like I mean, aside from small.
I live in an economically depressed area, and I mean, there's plenty of places around the country where the value of a home's just cratered. Absolutely cratered.
There's not many. Like you have to buy into a stable market. I mean, there's like some. I'm not going to say that it's like just you could pick any house and buy it. I'm just saying like as long as you make a solid investment, right, then it's going to be a better tier investment for the research than any other investment that you're going to make as far as the risk and reward profile, right? Like anything else is going to be way more sketchy. It's really hard to beat the returns. I mean, honestly, like I like just an example. I bought a property for $75,000 cash, and it generates $1,100 a month rent for me. It's been doing that for like the last 5 years since I bought it. Like that's, I mean, how do you beat that?
Well, but
that's no leverage.
Is that your star performer?
No, I mean that's an example. I've got
other
properties.
Do that?
I've got 2 fourplexes that I bought for $230,000 each, and they generate each one is rented out for about $700 a month. So it's like $2,800 per building, and then you've got fees and management and all that. So they net about $2,000 a month.
How many winners? How many losers do you have? Like how many actually cost you money? None?
Well, right now I've got like one property. Actually, well, I've paid off most of the properties now, so none of them really cost me money per month. Maybe like there's some that are like just break even that aren't paid off yet. But once they're paid off, they generate money. Like, how could you not generate money when they're paid off, right?
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. So I've got probably about $2 million worth of real estate. I have about $500,000 I owe on it, so $1.5 million, and I generate about somewhere around like what 10,000. So net about $6,000 to $7,000 a month. That's pretty hard to beat.
Yeah, it is.
On the investment. That's what and it's total security, right? Because there's no risk.
So wait, so you're making. So you said $2 million, and you're making $6,000 a month.
Yeah, about.
That's less than. Well, I guess. Yeah.
But I've got mortgages on. I'm trying to calculate. So.
Right.
Anyway, and that's current is right. That's not what I paid for them. So
right.
So like at current value, like you can look. I could obviously move things around and make more money off of them, but I don't know. That's definitely the best investment. But I've run numbers on so many things. Unless like the only other thing would be like if you're a serious option trader and like you understand the complex options and are willing to like do some of the complex straddles and types of trade positions that that could net you better. You're doing things where you're like buying stocks and holding for dividends, but then selling against your position, selling options against your position. Like there's some strategies that I think could probably beat that could be applied consistently, but they would take a more higher effort than just owning real estate.
Yeah, well, but it does seem to me like owning real estate is actually a huge amount of effort up front to learn what
yes.
you're doing, and you still deal with. It sounds to me like you still deal with a nice amount of headache from time to time, even though you're not like directly managing the properties.
Honestly, it's like usually like a couple of emails a month.
Okay.
That I answer.
Not
like
bad.
So it's not.
Yeah.
It's really not bad. Like it's pretty hands off.
Yeah.
Like you have to have the stomach for it because things happen, but it averages out, right? So I chart what my monthly average cash flow is.
Yeah.
I can tell you that being a landlord, because we have a rental house, is a pain in the butt.
Yeah, so if you don't have management in place, yes, I agree 100%. I would never do it unless I have management in place. But
Yep.
Guess that's about it for this week.
all right.
Yeah, looks like. Should have some interesting stuff to report next week.
Yeah, so I'll be gone next week. I'll be in California, so I will not be on next week. But so thoughts for the week?
I'm actually about to be interviewed on a real estate podcast.
Oh, nice.
I've got a thought for the week.
Okay.
Okay.
Invest in real estate?
No, it's actually better advice, which is do not sit on benches in wooded areas. I'm pretty sure that I got attacked by chiggers.
Yeah.
Oh man.
That is the most itchy, painful experience ever. Like for 4 days. Yep, and you can't even notice when it's happening because they're microscopic. So, don't sit on benches in wooded areas. That's my thought for the day, or advice.
I have a friend that just built a house in a heavily wooded area, and he was telling me about 6 months ago or something that they were going to go out and spray the entire land with all kinds of chemicals. And I asked him, aren't most bugs good? He's like, oh yeah, most bugs are good. I'm fine with spiders and grasshoppers and bees and wasps and most bugs out there, but chiggers can go F themselves.
I couldn't figure out what the heck happened to me. I think it's chiggers because
if you get them a little microscopic and itchy and they're burrowing into your skin, that's chiggers.
Yeah, because I had this little spot that just kind of hurt a little bit, just a little raised bump. Yeah. And I was like, oh, that's weird. I wonder if it's a rash or something. And then the next day, I was like, holy crap, this itches and burns.
Yep.
Like hell. And the next day, it got worse. And then I saw all these little dots, and I was like, all right, so what the heck? Like, either I got bit by a spider like 15 times, or it's chiggers. So I think it's chiggers. So F chiggers.
Yes.
All right, that's my thought.
I guess my thought for the week is words mean things. Sometimes they mean the things you intended, and sometimes they don't mean the things you intended when other people hear them. So choose your words carefully.
I sense there's a story behind it.
Yeah, I was going to say, it sounds like there's a backstory there.
Yes and no.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that I've been realizing for a long time now.
Well, I guess I'll piggyback off of that. So in this course that I'm in, this writing course, one of the instructors posted that there's basically kind of two different types of people in the world. Like there's the type who he called them Humpty Dumpty. Like he had this two different approaches. One was the Alice in Wonderland Humpty Dumpty, which is like, whatever I say means whatever I say it means. And then there's like, he contrasted that with Mark Twain, and there was a quote, I forget the quote now, but it was basically like, what Derek was saying, like your words have very specific meanings and you need to choose your words very carefully. And it's pretty interesting to see people who kind of just go through life and just, they're just kind of like spewing and breaking things all the time. and they're just completely oblivious to it. And so I'm definitely more on the, at least philosophically, I agree with Mark Twain's, philosophy on it, that yes, you can't be responsible. You can't walk on eggshells all the time and be responsible for what everybody interprets your words to mean, but you should be thinking about it and making sure that as much as possible, what you're saying is actually what you mean.
Right.
Remember when we were kids and you could call someone a retarded faggot, and that was like not a big deal. Like we would just throw that around, and now like if you said that on Facebook, like you would just, I guess someone would come to your house
or
and
in a
kill
podcast,
Yeah. It'd be awful if you said that on a podcast.
Well, I didn't call anyone. You can talk meta about anything. That's allowed.
It's true.
Yeah, it's fair use of offensive terms.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fair use. Love it.
Anyone else?
The thing that I'm learning lately, it's kind of two things. One is just saying no, and I talked a little bit about that already. But the other one is just keep track of stuff. And for me, like I've started actually doing my own bookkeeping because it doesn't take terribly long, and then I have an idea of what's going on, and I've started doing a few other things that for my just keeping track of things in my business, setting up something, and just doing. I will make a lot of things run a lot more smoothly and a lot better. So just figure out what you need to keep track of and do it, and then you can react properly.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I need a dashboard for my income here. Need to figure out how to get that so that I actually know what's going on.
Yep.
Alrighty.
All right. Same bat time, same bat channel.
Yep.
I have the control to stop broadcast. Didn't someone else start this?
Yeah, Chuck started it, but you came in as Entreprogrammers. I was also in as Entreprogrammers originally, but I logged out and logged back in as me.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah.
I wonder why that happened. Okay.
I don't know.
But yeah, so I have a stop button, and it looks like you have a stop button.
Yeah.
Okay.
Both of you press it at the same time.
No, I don't want to bug test the.
Yeah. Race condition.